we are almost done with spring football coverage. Almost done. We got 2 more episodes to go, guys. This episode and next Tuesday's episode, and we are done with spring football and coverage spring football, and then we'll be into June. We'll be into June, and then after that, right after that, we will be on the road to the college football season for 2024. It's a new era of college football. We are going to do projections list. We're going to do hopefully interviews during the summer, and our conference standing projections are going to come up here in June and in July. We're going to talk about that. Going to be great. Going to rock and roll with some college football. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to rock and roll. Let's get it going with some Pigskin Frenzy. Welcome to Pigskin Frenzy, by the way, on this wonderful and beautiful Tuesday afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I'm Joel Norris, and whether you're watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify, listening on Podbean or Apple, a big thank you for taking some time out of your Tuesday to just sit back, watch, and listen to some college football coverage presented by me. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like each episode, leave comments down below. Spotify, Podbean, and Apple, all you have to do is just share around with others and follow on there as well. X, Instagram, and Facebook, just type in Pigskin Frenzy, follow, like the pages there. You're going to get episode updates. You're going to get news and highlights from across college and NFL football on X. On Instagram, you're going to get trivia question stories. Go and answer today's college football trivia question for today on Instagram, as well as all things up to date for Pigskin Frenzy. Guys, the website is where you can also get updates for all things up to date for Pigskin Frenzy. All you got to do is go to www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com. There you will find the home and about me page. You will go to my platforms page to click on one of the platforms you can listen to this show on that I just mentioned, as well as our affiliations page with our proud partners at The Beard Club. Guys, if you need a great shave and to have your grooming and facial hair needs met, then go to The Beard Club and get your beard grooming kits, as well as 2-for-1 shampoo and conditioner, body wash, beard and face wash, beard oil, beard balm, boar bristle brush, loofahs, combs, brushes, you name it, all at The Beard Club. 15% off discount at The Beard Club site. Tag that on. You can have whatever you want from The Beard Club. Significant others of your male counterpart. You're not going to be disappointed with how your man will react to these products and how you're going to react to these products. They smell great as well. So The Beard Club, go and get it now through my website, www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com. All you got to do is click on my affiliations page, and then you will go to click on the Beard Club logo. Once you click on that page, and it will take you right to the Beard Club website. You can also go to my link tree on X, Instagram, Facebook. You can click on the link tree and click on the link for the Beard Club, and you will take you right there so you can order all of your products necessary to have your needs met and facial hair needs met from the Beard Club. The Beard Club, proud partner of Pigskin Frenzy. Thank you for being a proud partner for the show. College football day today. Let's get it rocking and rolling, guys. On YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm sorry about how bright it is. It is a beautiful day today on Tuesday. It's very bright. It is bright, so you might just have to kind of deal with it a little bit. I apologize, but for audio listeners, if you want to go to audio and listen to it, you're very welcome to do that. I have a lot of listeners in general. Audio is awesome. Go and listen to it on there as well. It's my gain either way. So thank you either way for listening and watching Pigskin Frenzy on all platforms. So we did we did our spring outlooks. It's been a 6-week process of doing spring football. We've doing this since March, but it's been a process. It really has been a process, and we have done it. We did our spring outlooks. Now we're doing our football results. We're doing our spring football results. It has been close to an 8-week process covering spring football. And we are doing our spring results, and we're doing it in the order of how we did it for our spring outlooks. 3 weeks ago, we did Alabama, Auburn, Clemson, and NC State. 2 weeks ago, we did LSU, South Carolina, UCF, and Georgia Tech. Last week we did Michigan, Ohio State, Ole Miss, or Oregon, and Ole Miss. This week, we are doing Texas, Oklahoma, USC, and Notre Dame in our latest round of spring football results. We're going to 2 SEC teams, a Big Ten team, and an independent team, and tie everything in together to conclude today's episode of Pigskin Frenzy. Guys, we're going to get rocking and rolling here. It's a jam-packed episode. You're not going to want to miss any of the action right now. It is a pretty good episode that I got for you guys. So let's dive in to some college football. Let's talk about Texas first and their spring results. So Texas, a team that going into 2024 is, if you want to talk about them, they're going to be a talk of the town and a vocal point in this season. One, they're moving to the SEC, and a lot of people are going to be like, "Oh, you're moving to the SEC. You shouldn't be moving to the SEC because you're going to get wrecked." Not exactly. Not exactly. They have the talent to compete with a lot of these teams. Not only that, the resources and the facilities can combat what they're doing in the SEC. They're honestly have geared up for becoming an SEC school for a while now, and now they are going to be officially an SEC school in July. So in 2 months, they will be an SEC school. So getting ready for the SEC, getting there for the SEC. They've recruited well, and especially in the portal. And which brings us to the talent level, because they're bringing back almost near 70% of their production from last season. They lost a good bit. They lost Jatavian Sanders. They lost Xavier Worthy. They lost A.G. Mitchell. They lost Jonathan Brooks. They lost Killian Robinson on offense. That's quite okay. They lost Devondre Sweat and Byron Murphy, the second on the defense. That's quite okay as well. But they got some guys coming in from the portal on offense, especially like Isaiah Bond from Alabama, like Amari Nyblack from Alabama. They got a lot of guys on that team that could run the rock, like C.J. Baxter, for example. They got a lot of guys. They got Quinn Ewers back at quarterback. He is staying for his final season to try to see if they can bring a national championship home to Texas and bring an SEC championship home in their very first season in the SEC. So let's see if they can derail Georgia and their title hopes. They got a lot of games on their schedule this season. They were a college football playoff team last season as well. They only lost one game. That was to Oklahoma during the regular season. They lost to Washington in the Sugar Bowl. They lost to that's about it, really. They beat Alabama in week 2. They won some good games. They won the Big 12 title, and they went to the Sugar Bowl to the playoffs, lost to Washington, unfortunately, but now they're back. They return a lot. Like I said, 70% of their production. They got a heck of a schedule coming up. They have Alabama. Not Alabama. They have Michigan in week 2 in Ann Arbor in the Big House. They got a date with Georgia in October. They got Kentucky, Florida, Mississippi State, Texas A&M. They renew their rivalry there. A lot of teams. They got a lot of things going on now in this schedule. There's no more divisions in the SEC, just like the Big 12. Texas having themselves a little bit of a ball. I have a permanent rivalry now with A&M, and they are back playing them again. So Texas is going to be a team to not be messed with. You're going to have to watch Texas. You're going to have to keep an eye on them. They are ready for to get back into the hunt or get into the hunt for an SEC championship and get back into the hunt for the 12-team playoff coming up in December. So let's talk about Texas spring and how they've been doing and how everything's been going and how I viewed my 3 things that I liked from their spring game. One thing that I liked from their spring game was the quarterbacks. Obviously, the quarterbacks were phenomenal. Quinn Ewers didn't play a lot, but he still looked good warming up. He looked good in a lot of areas, made good decisions. He's the clear-cut starter for this season until Arch Manning takes over the reins. And speaking of Arch Manning, boy, was he the most improved player on the team. He was the talk of the town of this spring game. Let me go on and tell you something. He was dropping dimes, and I mean dimes, on the Texas secondary in this spring game, doing a lot of good things against Texas's defense, and a lot of good things, making good decisions, throwing the ball really well, mobile when he needed to be, physical when he needed to be. He played really, really well. His completion percentage was good. It's not like darn near perfect, but it was pretty good to the point where he got noticed a little bit, and it's looking like that he could stick around, like pull a Garrett Nussmeier, like how he did at LSU with Jaden Daniels, and then just stick around and wait until Quinn Ewers leaves for his senior year, and then all of a sudden, boom, he's a starter next season for 2025 in the Southeastern Conference. So let's see what happens. Arch Manning was probably one of my favorite moments. I liked what he did. He played really, really good in this spring game and looked really well. Receivers also looked good. That's the second thing I liked. The receivers looked really, really good. And when you look at the receivers, you have Isaiah Bond. They need to work on Isaiah Bond and Quinn Ewers may need to work on more of their chemistry during the offseason, during this summer and going into fall camp. But Isaiah Bond's going to be a threat in their in the receiving area. You also got guys like DeAndre Moore, Johnny Cook II. They both looked well, especially with Arch Manning. Those guys clicked with Arch Manning as well. They're going to look good with Quinn Ewers going in to this season as well. Moore and Cook taking over. Along with Isaiah Bond taking over for, A.D. Mitchell and Xavier Worthy as they both left to go to the NFL. So they look good at the receiving end. Their defense, I think their defensive line looked great. I think it looked physical. I'm surprised at how physical it looked on the defensive line. That's my third thing about them that I like from Texas's spring game there and their spring results. Their defensive line looked really good. They lost. They lost a lot, a lot of guys, including Devondre Sweat and Byron Murphy. Edge players stepped up, though, on that defensive line, like Colin Simmons, Colton Vasek. They both stepped up. They had some flashes. Are they going to need to work on some things? Absolutely. But that D-line stepped up in a big way after losing 2 key players to the National Football League. This is a defensive line that can cause some problems for a lot of good O-lines in the Southeastern Conference this season. I think they look good. I think Texas looked physical on defense. I think the secondary excelled as well. I think the quarterbacks excelled. I think the receivers excelled as well. I think those are the three things that I really liked the most was mainly the defensive line, the quarterbacks, including Arch Manning, as well as the receivers with DeAndre Moore and Johnny Cook II. What I didn't like and what I kind of found questionable is you got to have a better O-line to play in this conference. And I think that a tiny bit, not too much, but a tiny bit is what's being missing here in Texas. I think the O-line showed some strides, but not fully developed yet. I feel like they missed a little bit. They missed some blocks. They missed some protection on their quarterbacks, on their running backs. They missed some key blocks and some protection for their key players to make some plays. I feel like that if that keeps going and bleeds into the fall, that could cost them some games that they shouldn't lose. And offensive line play is very important, especially in a Sarkisian offense. It's especially in SEC play as well. Very important to have a strong enough offensive line to keep up and to try to win some ball games, especially on the ground, through the air, you name it. It's just really important just to keep up, you know what I mean? Just to keep up and to win some ball games. You need a solid foundation on the O-line. And I feel like they didn't have that much of a solid foundation on the O-line. I think that's the only really miscue that I see with Texas right now is their O-line. I feel like they need to clean it up a little bit, get ready, and get more physical and get prepared for the Southeastern Conference. That's what I think. That's how I view things, especially going into the fall. If you give me a school grade for Texas, how do I view it? I would say B+ going into A-, leaning more towards A-. I feel like the offensive line kind of let me down a little bit to the point where it dropped my grade down for them to a B+ or close to an A-. I think what leans me towards the A- was the offense and how they look. The quarterback room is loaded, especially with Arch Manning waiting between the wings behind Quinn Ewers. He looks solid throwing the football and making good decisions. He looked mobile enough to, carry the load on some plays. He looked like if anything happened to Quinn this season, he could step up in his place and not skip a beat just like that. So the quarterback room looked good. The receivers looked good as well. The running backs looked good. The defensive line excelled and surprisingly excelled, in my opinion, after losing Sweat and Murphy II to the NFL. So I just think the O-line needs a little bit more work, and we need to get a little bit more physical as we prepare for the Southeastern Conference. So a B plus, A minus for Texas is going to be suffice for me in their spring results. So that was Texas's spring results. Let's see what happens going into the fall. They got some crucial games coming up in the fall, man. They got Georgia in October, which a lot of players are calling it the battle of the college football's best. We're gonna see. I most likely will cover that game in October. So we're gonna talk about it as we get ready and rock and roll for the fall. By the way, if anybody's is kind of a mid plug here, an off the record plug here, if anybody saw the college football video game trailer, we might do a podcast episode on the video game itself. I'm excited about it. I saw the trailer. Quinn Ewers is on the cover along with Travis Hunter from Colorado and Donovan Edwards from Michigan. The standard edition, at least. I'm excited about it. The game looks fun. It's ready for pre-order. I'm ready to rock and roll with that game, and I'm excited to see what happens with it. I'm excited to see, and I might do a review episode on that game. So I just thought about it. I saw the trailer a few days ago. It was nice. It was a really nice trailer, really fun game, and I've been waiting for this for a long time because I was a kid growing up watching and playing NCAA and watching and playing the college football video games. It's honestly just an exciting thing for me. So we might do a review episode on that. Speaking of college football, so off the record plug there, sorry, might do a future podcast episode and a review episode on the video game itself. I just thought about it because Quinn Ewers is the cover star, and we just talked about Texas, so why not, right? So that was Texas's spring results. That was the off the record plug for college football video game. Let's talk about their counterpart going to the SEC as well, and the rival that they're not going to be able to get away from, and that's Oklahoma. Yes, they are going to the SEC too. Oklahoma, their spring game. I was rock and roll with it. I'm ready to go, and let's talk about it. So, Oklahoma, a team that honestly was undefeated going in with Texas, beat Texas in the old Cotton Bowl Stadium in the Red River rivalry. We're getting that rivalry going to the SEC, but it was a game where we thought, okay, Oklahoma is going to overshadow Texas. We're waiting for the Big 12 championship rematch until they lost to Texas. Until they lost to Kansas, until they lost to Oklahoma State. And then we were thinking, oh, it looks like we're not going to get that rematch after all. But they kind of fell apart at the later part of the season. Brent Venables and company did, but that's okay. Dylan Gabriel ended up leading Oklahoma to go to the transfer portal, chose Oregon. Jackson Arnold is now the main guy starting for OU. It's his time to start. He started in the bowl game in the Alamo Bowl against Arizona in a loss where he had 6+ turnovers. And he is going to be it's going to be exciting looking for him. It's going to be exciting watching him play. Jackson Arnold is a guy that going into the spring is what I've been kind of keeping an eye on, the development of him, and let's see how he is developed, right? So that's what I would want to see. A lot of things happened for Oklahoma last season, but one thing's for certain, we got to see if they're getting ready for the Southeastern Conference going into the 2024 season. So let's talk about OU spring. Let's talk about their game, and let's talk about everything happened and some big takeaways from the red and white spring game of OU. Let's talk about Jackson Arnold. He is going to be okay. And that's number one for me. Number one that I liked was Jackson Arnold. I think he made some positive strides in decision-making. I think he made better decisions. Has he got a lot more to develop? Absolutely. I believe so, because I mean he's still a redshirt freshman. He's still a guy that hadn't started a complete season. He only started one college game, and that was the Alamo Bowl against Arizona at the end of this college football season. So he's got time. He's got time to develop. A full season was not going to hurt him anymore. It's going to develop him and get him ready for big-time games. He's going to make strides. He's already made strides in the spring game and in the spring in general. Made some fantastic throws. His footwork is pretty nice. I think it's very underrated, especially in the SEC. Made some good timely decisions and has got a good head to be a good quarterback in the Southeastern Conference. I like his development and how it is going so far, and it showed in the spring game as well. The other quarterbacks look good as well, but this job, to me, is Jackson Arnold's to lose. So it's most likely going to be Jackson Arnold as the head guy for Oklahoma. That's number 1 for me. Number 2 for OU. And I'm kind of going through these quick. It's 19, about to be 20 minutes into the podcast episode. I'm going through these quick. I'm already on my second school. So number 2 for OU, and when you look at them, especially at the receiving core, at the receiving room, Drake Stoops is no longer there, but enter Purdue transfer. Purdue wide receiver transfer, Deion Burks. And Deion Burks is going to be the man for OU on the receiving end. And you can use him as a big-time playmaker for Jackson Arnold. They connected a lot during the spring, especially in the spring game. They connected a lot. He does some good ball. He plays some good ball. He can move around a little bit. Can he play in the slot? Absolutely. But as an outside guy, he is a baller, a tremendous savage when it comes to reading defenders' coverages and getting on the outside to make some plays for his quarterback, Jackson Arnold. So Deion Burks is the man. He's made some good plays. Let's see what Deion Burks does and what he does for OU and Brent Venables in the offense. He was a big playmaker for this team. That was number 2 for me. Number 3, and the final thing that I liked from Oklahoma was their offensive line. Kind of the opposite of Texas. I was concerned about their O-line and how it was going to hold up and to be physical in the Southeastern Conference. I knew their defense was going to be physical because it's Brent Venables. Brent Venables always preaches defense. But I was concerned about their offensive line. Their offensive line did not look all that good in the Alamo Bowl, and that was their last game before they go into the new season and the new era of college football. As they're going into the SEC, you got to have a solid offensive line. I guess that's the theme of what we're discussing here for this podcast episode for college football. You got to have a good offensive line to enter the Southeastern Conference. And OU's offense, Oklahoma's offensive line, did not disappoint. Thought they were going to disappoint. Not going to lie. I thought they were going to disappoint a tiny bit. But guess what? They did not. They elevated and proved me wrong and elevated my expectations. They were, they're not all the way perfect, but they showed some promising signs. They did. They showed some promising signs. I think they need to be developed a little bit more and get more physical. But other than that, they showed some signs of promise of being physical throughout the season. So could be a good sign for OU as they move to the SEC. So that's what I liked. And the 3 things that I really liked from their spring results: the O-line, the development of Jackson Arnold, and Deion Burks at receiver. He could be a tremendous playmaker for this Sooners offense. What I did not like from their spring game and their spring, overall, would probably be, honestly, if you want to talk about it, the linebacker area. I think the linebackers, they got some good linebackers, but I think that the linebacker spot for me needs to be cleaned up and developed just a tiny bit, especially when making passes over the middle. Especially over the middle, when people were making passes on them over the middle, they were nowhere to be found. And I feel like physical linebackers, especially in Brent Venables' defenses, is a must. So I think the linebackers need to step up just a tiny bit for OU, not too much, but a tiny bit for OU if they want to not eat up a lot of yards on defense. So that's just my thing. The defensive line looked good. The O-line looked better than advertised. The development of Jackson Arnold looked all right. Deion Burks looked good. But the linebackers are the ones that I would kind of shape up a little bit for OU. So if I had to give a school grade for this, it'd be A-, an A- spring and an A- spring game for Oklahoma. They look good in a lot of areas. They need to clean up in some areas, but that's all in due time. All in due time as the fall happens and as they get ready for the 2024 season for the SEC. So that was Oklahoma's spring, and those are the 3 things that I liked from their spring, and that was their spring results as well. As we move away from the SEC, we're done with the SEC. Let's go to our third school, and we're going to the Big Ten, and that's USC. Big thing for USC is the defense. That is, I don't care. I do not. There's a lot I care about. I know Miller Moss it's going to be the starting quarterback. We understand that. We're going to talk about him in a little bit, but the defense is what I've been wanting to see. How's the secondary going to look? How's the defensive line going to look? How's the tackling going to look? It's all defense for me. That's pretty much really what I want to discuss with the USC. How does the defense look, and how's it going to fare, especially when you got crucial games coming up against an Oregon, against an LSU, against a Penn State, against a Michigan? How is it going to look? It's going to be a physical challenge going from the Pac-12 to the Big Ten. The Big Ten is to many, I guess, is the second most physical conference, the second best conference in college football. Power 2, man. If you want to talk about Power 2, it's SEC Big Ten. And excuse me, if you look at USC, they need to play better defense. That's obviously, it's just like LSU. They need to play better defense as well. USC needs to play better defense big time, especially going into the Big Ten. You got to play physical football going into this conference. Let's talk about USC spring. The last season didn't go as good as advertised. Number 6, they were in the top 10. They were number 6 in September, going into October, going into that Notre Dame game. Then they lost to Notre Dame. Defense finally caught up to them a lot. They were having a good defense. Colorado almost came back and beat them, but time management on Colorado's part ended up hurting them. We honestly thought USC was going to lose to a lot of games. They didn't. Thought they were going to lose to Arizona State. They didn't. We're like, okay, let's just wait a little bit. Notre Dame came around. A lot of people said, Notre Dame, they're going to lose to Notre Dame. I said, USC's going to beat Notre Dame. Because I was thinking about Caleb Williams. I didn't think about the defense. I just said, now's not the time. It's going to be either Oregon or Washington. But I was wrong. Notre Dame steamrolled them. And I mean, wiped the floor with USC. Not even close. Defense got to them. Both sides of the ball for Notre Dame was clicking in South Bend. Caleb Williams didn't do much. They lost that game. They lost to Washington. They lost to Oregon. They lost to UCLA. They lost 4 or 5 games, I think. They lost to, they lost to, as far as I know, Notre Dame, Oregon, Washington, UCLA. They lost the 5th game, if I'm not mistaken, and it was a game that they really shouldn't have lost. But as far as I know, it was a game that they really shouldn't have lost. I know UCLA was one of them. They lost 5 games. They went 7-5, as far as I know. 7-5. And they beat Louisville. They beat Louisville and ended up beating Louisville in the Holiday Bowl. So when we talk about SC and look at SC, I'm sorry, they lost to Utah. Utah was one of them. Utah was one of them. They lost to Utah. And when you look at, SC, the defense cost them, but all those games. Every one of those games, the defense cost them. They could have had a better record. I projected them to win the Pac-12 title game, go to the playoffs. They did not. They disappointed everyone, it seemed like. And I'm just being honest. It was a disappointing turn of events. But they have a chance to rewrite that. They have a chance to surprise teams and surprise everybody in the Big Ten by making a statement and saying, we are going to be a physical team. We're going to be here, and we're going to be USC football, and USC football is going to be better than advertised going into this season after losing Marshawn Lloyd, after losing Caleb Williams, after losing Brendan Rice, after losing a lot of these guys. We're going to be better than advertised. We got Zion. We got Zachariah Branch still here. We got a lot of guys still here ready to ball. Miller Moss most likely going to start for this season. Got a lot of guys here on offense, but what about the defense? That's the best thing we could say. What about the defense for USC? Let's talk about it. Number 1, defense. And that's what we're going to talk about because that's what we all want to see. What's going on with the defense? Surprisingly, the offense struggled more than the defense, and the secondary excelled on defense, and that's one of the big promises that we've been looking for. They were getting thrown on a lot last season, so the secondary excelling early is what you need to hear. They gave up a lot of plays. They still have a lot of work to do on defense, but the secondary showing signs of life is a way better position that they should be in than when Alex Grinch was defensive coordinator at USC. So the secondary excelling early, that is pretty good. I like that from USC. That was my number one thing for them. Number two, the defensive line showed a little bit of fight and heart. I think they showed a little bit of fight and heart. Some freshmen had some nice moments as well, especially on the defensive line with edge rusher Cameron Fountain. Cameron Fountain did good. He had some nice moments, and on a 3rd and 1 play, rushed off the edge to make the tackle and not let them get the first down. Solid play and solid playmaking ability by Cameron Fountain for the edge rushing ability on the D-line. The D-line showed some moments, especially some freshmen. So the secondary, that's one. The number 3 would probably be the defensive line. They showed some moments as well. Number 3 would be, honestly, the O-line. I think the O-line showed some promise and some physicality all up front. The O-line did. I think those are the 3 things that caught my eye with USC. The O-line did really good at pass blocking and protecting it. We're going to get to the quarterbacks here in a little bit, but that's what I liked from the offense. The offense in general was the O-line. And I liked a little bit of the defensive line, and I liked a little bit of their secondary. They got a lot to clean up on defense, of course, but they're making the strides and making the correct necessary improvements to make it work into the Big Ten. So those are the 3 things that I liked about USC spring and their spring results. Here's a couple of things that I did not like about USC. I think their linebackers needed do a little bit more work. I think getting run up in the middle, getting thrown up in the middle a little bit, kind of is in making those big time plays up the middle. They weren't there. The physicality wasn't there a little bit on defense. I think the defense was making strides, but there needs some more work with physicality and especially in the linebacker area for the defense. The second and final thing that I did not like about USC spring was the quarterback play. I think Miller Moss is a good quarterback and is going to be the starter, but I think both him and Jaden Maeva, they both looked okay, but Jaden Maeva is a guy that needs to be developed a little bit more. He's not going to start, but needs to be developed a little bit more in case anything happens to Miller Moss. Maeva has a potential to start one day, but I think he needs to develop a lot more in some areas. Decision-making needs to be better. He's a freshman still. It's going to take time for Jaden Maeva. Miller Moss has more experience, and I think Miller Moss, with Miller Moss, it's different with Miller Moss. I think there was some decision-making ability that he could help, and I think he could have made the right decision on a lot of plays and didn't really make the accurate ones. I think accuracy was a big thing. I think he was just a little bit off this spring. I think in the fall, they're really going to need him to take strides. They're really going to need him to step up, especially as they get through get to a tough opener against LSU in Las Vegas. And a tough stretch in the Big Ten going into 2024. So that's what I did not really like about USC. It's their spring, and those are the 3 things I did like from USC's spring. And for Lincoln Riley, you just got to shape up. We got to get ready and to do well in this conference. It's not the Pac-12. It's definitely different from the Pac-12. How do I grade this school grade wise? I'm gonna give it a C. I'm gonna give it a C plus. C plus, leaning more towards B minus. And I think because only that, I think they showed some strides in being a team that could upset a lot of teams. I think they're going to be a team that can win 8 games, maybe 9 games, but the defense needs a lot of work still. I think that the defensive, I think that the linebackers need to show a little bit more promise. I want Miller Moss to develop in a lot of plays in a lot of areas too. I think he wasn't on his best game, and that's what kind of threw me off. I think if he does really well, they're gonna have a better season that a lot of people are gonna expect. But if he brings that into the fall, I'm a little bit worried about where USC's going, especially into the Big Ten this season. So C plus, B minus is how I would grade their spring for USC. So last but not least, let's go to independent country. Let's go to Notre Dame before we conclude today's episode of Pigskin Frenzy. So Notre Dame spring results. They got Riley Leonard from Duke. Marcus Freeman out in the portal again, getting another transfer quarterback after Sam Hartman from Wake Forest transferred there last season. He left, went to the NFL. Now they are, and Sam Hartman's with the Commanders. Audric Estime's with the Broncos. What's going to happen with the depth at running back? That's what a lot of people were talking about. The quarterback situation. What's going to happen with a lot, especially in the linebacker area as well for the Notre Dame's defense? Well, look no further than Notre Dame. They had a good spring game in my eyes. I think if you look at it overall, it wasn't bad. There were some things they need to clean up, but it wasn't bad, but it wasn't like overall the best thing. So, but it was good enough to where they can win some ball games this season. Riley Leonard did not really play because he was nervous. He was still he's trying to nurse that ankle injury that he had last season as much as he can before starting this season. Riley Leonard, now a part of the Notre Dame offense from Duke, the team that beat Duke. And he got hurt in that game. He suffered in that injury against Notre Dame. Is now joining forces with a team he did not beat at Duke. So Notre Dame, Riley Leonard there. Marcus Freeman went out and got another quarterback from the portal, and it was him projected to start this season. But the backup quarterbacks like Steve Angeli, he made some hot flashes. He didn't look overall the best. He has some time. He needs some more room to develop, but he made some strides as well in a lot of other in some plays. I think the number one thing that we can just kick it off right here for Notre Dame, what I liked was actually, I'm going to just go with Steve Angeli. I think Steve Angeli looked good in a lot of plays. I think he needs to develop a lot more, obviously, but he showed some strides to being a good backup for Riley Leonard when Riley Leonard is healthy and ready to go. He can be a good backup in case anything happens to Riley Leonard again for Notre Dame. I think that's number two. That's number one for Notre Dame's spring results that I like. The backup quarterbacks are showing some stride for this team. Number two, I really like the running back depth. I think the running back depth is still good, even though they lost a big part of their running game with Audric Estime. Jabarian Payne may start at running back. Is he going to be a strong starter like Audric Estime? Is he going to be explosive like him right now? Probably not, no. But the running back depth is still there. You got Jabarian Payne. You got Anais Williams as well. He has displayed a lot of speed early. Just a lot of speed early. Jabarian Payne may be the guy to go to. Jabarian Payne, and you got Anais Williams as a rotating in and out back. Jabarian Payne brings power, a balanced power style, and then Anais Williams brings that speed behind Payne. So I like the depth at running back. They showed a lot in the spring game with explosiveness of power and speed, like a balanced attack, which I like. And they can be a force to be reckoned with in the season on the ground. So that's what I liked about. That's the second thing I liked about Notre Dame especially on the ground. Number three, I liked that they're. Honestly, this is going to sound weird because Riley Leonard really didn't play, but I like their lack of injuries. I think lack of injuries was really good. I think their conditioning, how healthy they were, staying healthy, trying not to get hurt, being very careful, and playing with a lot of responsibility, a lot of smarts, a lot of conditioning. Lack of injuries was really, really good in the spring game. Pretty healthy, and they stayed healthy throughout the spring, and that's a good sign for Marcus Freeman and his team, especially on offense with Mike Denbrock last year at LSU, now back at Notre Dame, taking over the reins at offense this coming up season. So that's really good for Notre Dame. What I did not like about Notre Dame was a little bit of their D-line. I think their D-line is good, but showed some flashes of giving up a lot of plays, especially to the O-line and the offense. I think they need to clean up some things on D-line, especially with how many gaps they leave open. I think they leave open quite a few gaps, especially on the ground. Especially for the quarterback to take off and be mobile as well. So I think whoever they play, they need to be mindful of that, leave up a little bit more open, ways and gaps, and protect those gaps and close in on the offense and especially on the quarterback and the O-line. Their D-line needs to develop a little bit more, not too much, but a little bit more. That's what I did not like about the spring game when it comes to Notre Dame. If I had to give them a grade, an overall grade for Notre Dame, it would most likely be, I would say a B, just a straight B, not a B minus, not a B minus, not a B plus, just a B. I think they showed a lot of good. I think what I liked the most about it was their lack of injuries. I think that was pretty good, staying injury free, not rushing into anything. thinking responsibility with a lot of what they were doing. I think that's really good for them, and that's really sufficed for Notre Dame as they enter the 2024 season. So I'd give them a B overall for their spring and their spring results. Just got to clean up a lot on the defensive line as they get ready for the 2024 season. That was Texas, that was Oklahoma, USC, and Notre Dame springs and spring results. And we are out of time here on Pigskin Frenzy. A big thank you for taking some time out of your Tuesday to just sit back, watch, and listen to some college football coverage presented by me. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like each episode, leave comments down below. Spotify, Podbean, and Apple, all you have to do is just share around with others and follow on there as well. X, Instagram, and Facebook, just type in Pigskin Frenzy. Follow, like the pages there. You're going to get episode updates. You're going to get news and highlights from across college and NFL football. You're going to get Instagram stories, trivia questions, go and answer today's trivia question about college football on Instagram, as well as all things up to date for Pigskin Frenzy. Guys, check out the website, www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com. You're not going to want to miss anything on that. Guys, Thursday, we will be back for some more updates on OTAs and off-season workouts. Also, a lot of people have been wanting me to talk about this. The Harrison Buckner comments about the graduation thing. Yes, we will address what's going on there. We're going to talk about it. I'll give you my opinions, and I'll give you my final thoughts on that as well. So, OTAs, and we're going to talk about the Harrison Buckner thing, even though I kind of try to tend to stay away from that. It's just a lot of noise, and they want me to talk about it, so I'll talk about it. So Thursday, you're not going to want to miss this NFL edition of Pigskin Frenzy on Thursday. Next week will be our final week of spring football coverage, and we will do our last bit of it. Nebraska, Colorado, Arizona, Washington on the last rounds of spring results. You're not going to want to miss it. Guys, until Thursday for NFL edition of Pigskin Frenzy, I'm Joel Norris signing off. We will see you Thursday for Pigskin Frenzy. For everybody out there, please and always stay the course.